Okay, welcome to a new episode of Nate's MMA Corner. I am Nate, and if you watch my show, you're in my corner. Today's episode is a pre-fight show for Hendricks vs. Thompson UFC Fight Night, which was originally UFC 196 for the heavyweight championship of the world, Velasquez vs. Verdum. And as a lot of you know, the main event got scratched. They couldn't find another title fight to take its spot, so they moved this to a fight night and kept it on the same day and same venue. And the original co-main event of the pay-per-view turned into the main event for the fight night. With that said, we have Johnny Hendricks versus Stephen Thompson, welterweight main event, 5-rounder. Yeah, you got Stephen Thompson, kickboxing world champion several times over, versus college wrestler at Oklahoma State turned MMA fighter Johnny Big Rig Hendricks. Yeah, like a lot of the experts, I am picking Johnny Hendricks to win. A lot of people are picking Johnny Hendricks to win by unanimous decision due to takedowns and ground and pound each round. However, my prediction's a little twist. I think that the submission defense of Stephen Thompson is not quite as there as Johnny Hendricks. So I think when Johnny Hendricks gets the takedowns in the first couple rounds, he'll pound him out. Thompson's submission defense will hold up momentarily. But I think in round 4, he's going to have Stephen Thompson busted up so much and worn out that Hendricks will go for a submission in the 4th round. Yeah, it sounds a little shocking, I know, for some people. It's just Johnny Hendricks not known as a submission guy per se, but I think he will eventually get probably a guillotine. I could picture him getting top position and then working in a guillotine in there in the 4th round. So I'm picking Johnny Hendricks 4th round submission over Stephen Thompson in the main event. Then in the co-main event, we have Roy Nelson versus Jared Rosholt. This one I went back and forth on because you have Roy Nelson, season 10 Ultimate Fighter winner, versus Jared Rosholt, who's on a several fight win streak. However, it's not like it's been beyond your belief dominant where it's just like, wow, you know, super impressive. I mean, Jared Rosholt's won, but it hasn't been flashy. We haven't seen big knockouts. For a heavyweight, he's won an awful lot of decisions. And, you know, Rosholt has been knocked out in the past. So I originally picked Roy Nelson to win with his overhand right on this fight in the 1st round over Jared Rosholt. However, I think Jared Rosholt's smart enough to avoid that overhand right, and I think he keeps clinching with Roy Nelson, and he'll keep dirty boxing Roy Nelson, and then he will get the unanimous decision. I think at least 29-28 unanimous decision win, if not 30-27 unanimous decision win for Jared Rosholt. I think this fight is a barn burner where it's kind of a sloppy heavyweight fight. There's no big flashy kicks. There's no big flashy punches. There's no big, you know, left and right takedowns on either side. There might be some grappling, but I expect this to be Jared Rosholt running around, sticking and moving. And then basically the last round he'll be up on points from dominating so well in the first 2 that he'll just run around in the 3rd round to survive and get the nod. I think Jared Rosholt gets worn out and gassed out and tired, but I also think Roy Nelson will get gassed out and tired, and I think the 3rd round of this fight will be really slow and sloppy. Not to take anything away from both these guys, these are 2 of my favorite heavyweights. However, I gotta be honest here and say that's how I see this fight going. So I see Jared Rosholt winning by unanimous decision somehow, most likely stand up due to strikes. Then in the light heavyweight division we have Rafael Cavalcante versus Ovin St. Preuve. Man, Cavalcanti, he was great in Strikeforce, but his last few fights in the UFC have been not the most impressive. I mean, he got knocked out by Patrick Cummins, and Patrick Cummins known as a grinder who wrestles, and he's not known for his killer striking, but, he was able to knock out Cavalcanti, and, that, I think there's something to be said there. And I like Patrick Cummins, don't get me wrong, but, again, Patrick Cummins is known as a wrestler. He's known as a decision win fighter. And I think Ovin St. Preuve will get takedowns on this fight, ground and pound. I think he'll use his height, his reach, his speed, and I think Ovin St. Preuve gets KO in the second round victory. So there you have it for this fight. Then in the flyweight division, we have Joseph Benavidez versus Zach Makovsky. Yeah, this one, easy, hands down, Joseph Benavidez, unanimous decision. Zach Makovsky is a great wrestler. He will try to get those takedowns. However, Joseph Benavidez will be too quick. His takedown defense is great. Joseph Benavidez probably doesn't want to take Zach down until it gets to the later rounds, rounds 2 or 3. I think overall, though, this stays standing, and I think Joseph Benavidez lands more strikes, outworks, outpaces, maybe goes for some submissions in the clinch. But I see this primarily standing, and I see Joseph Benavidez getting the victory, unanimous decision, 30-27. And Joseph Benavidez kind of leaves the flyweight division with only one choice for a title shot, and that's Henry Cejudo. I think because if Zach wins this fight, you could say maybe he warrants a title shot over Demetrius Johnson. However, Joseph Benavidez wins. You can't give him Demetrius Johnson because he's lost twice to him already in title fights. So this will kind of nullify both these guys for the time being, as long as Demetrius Johnson's the champ, leaving Henry Cejudo as the prospect of in title contention per se, to fight Demetrius Johnson for the flyweight title. Then also in the light heavyweight division, we have Misha Cirkunov versus Alex Nicholson, and yeah, this one I am going with Cirkunov TKO round 1. I think this guy has heavy hands, and he's quick and just tough and durable. Yeah, these are two. Alex Nicholson is still a prospect at light heavyweight, don't get me wrong. But yeah, I mean, just, from watching previous fights of these guys, I gotta go with Misha Cirkunov. I think a lot of the experts got this fight right. Misha Cirkunov's the guy, in theory, gonna win, and probably gonna win flashy. I don't know how everyone else has this fight, but I got a flashy knockout in the first round. I think Misha's boxing is going to look great in this fight. And he's going to land a heavy right hand jab that's going to rock and devastate Alex and possibly finish him. Then to kick off the main card in the welterweight division, we have Mike Quicksand Pyle versus Sean Spencer. Now this is another fight where I went back and forth on because Mike Pyle's a legend. Mike Pyle can do it all. His submission defense is typically really good. His striking is on point. He is a great training partner for a lot of the UFC fighters in the gym. In the past at Extreme Couture, and Mike Pyle's put on a lot of great fights, a lot of tough, durable fights. However, he's lost some decisions. He's 40 years old. Sean Spencer, on the other hand, is I believe 28 years old. or at the very least a lot younger. And Sean Spencer's a veteran in the sport. I've watched a lot of his fights over the years. And Sean Spencer is no joke. Sean Spencer has fairly good ground game, decent striking, decent grappling. And I think this fight was a close call because Mike Pyle, despite his age, I think still has at least a couple good fights in this, and this could be one of them. But I got to go with Sean Spencer on this one, and I think Sean Spencer gets it done by unanimous decision. I think his age and his speed play a factor in this fight, and you know, Sean Spencer is not gonna necessarily get a flashy knockout here because Mike Pyle's footwork is still pretty good, and Mike Pyle, has good submission defense if it goes to the ground. So I got Sean Spencer outworking him, and I think this fight goes all over the place. It goes striking, it goes grappling, it goes people defending takedowns on either end. But yeah, I can see this one just coming down to the wire, and I'm picking Sean Spencer at least 29-28 unanimous decision, possibly 30-27, but I think Mike Pyle will get around in there, so most likely 29-28 unanimous decision for Sean Spencer. So that wraps up my pre-fight show, the main card. Stay tuned for my next episode, which will be a post-fight episode of this main card, Hendricks versus Thompson, UFC Fight Night. And so stay tuned for that one. Until then, see ya.